calm this thing down so we can get the meeting started. Ready to go? I see that red dot. I think we're recording. I'm going to talk slow and I think that everything's going to work out just fine. Okay, it is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024. The time is 7:04 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Councilmember Woods,
Here.
Pine,
Here.
Luck,
Here.
Hendricks,
Here.
Christensen,
Here.
Mora, Madam Square.
Here. Next item is approval of the agenda. Making any changes to tonight's agenda?
We are not, no.
Thank you. So we will read through the agenda as it was published. The next agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the regular meeting of June 25, 2024, approval of bill list dated July 4, 2024, and payroll ledger dated June 28, 2024, and consideration of ordinance number 624, series of 2024, first reading to set the public hearing of an ordinance amending chapter 13 of the Dillon Municipal Code concerning water and sewer billing to facilitate and encourage paperless billing and payments. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Luck,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Pine,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Madam Square.
Yes. Next item is citizen comments. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 5 minutes. Council will take comments into consideration, but will not make decisions at this time. Council will not engage in back and forth dialogue, but may respond to a speaker with brief factual information or refer the speaker to the town manager to arrange a meeting with an appropriate staff member for discussion of the speaker's topic at an appropriate time. However, the council has no obligation to engage with the speaker by either of the foregoing methods or at all. I don't have a sign-up sheet. Did anybody sign up? Rabbi Joel, if you'd like to go first, go ahead. If you would, state your name and address for the record, and then I'll start your 5-minute timer.
Rabbi Joel Schwartzman. I reside at 220 East Labonte in the lodge of Lake Dillon. You guys are probably used to me by now. I thought to come with a proverb tonight. Proverb is, before destruction comes pride, before stumbling comes a haughty spirit. You know this proverb from the New Testament, which is not my testament, it's yours. I'm assuming nobody on this council is Jewish. Pride goeth before the fall. I thought that one of the comments that got made this last meeting was a bit arrogant and self-assuming. And I answered it in a letter to the editor today in the Summit Daily News. Bruce Butler outdid me. What does Dillon want to be? I'm not entirely sure that this council doesn't operate somewhat in a vacuum. I'm not sure because obviously there is a contingency of residents who've opposed the master plan or what has been approved. I'm not sure who it was who proposed before the July 1st concert that seating should only be that, what, an inch off the ground? Did anybody check to see if any of those chairs were for sale at either City Market or Target? Because there are none left. And the majority of people who came to that concert to hear the NRO are 60, 70, and 80. How do you expect them to get out of those chairs? Did anybody think of that? You have a constituency. I don't know whose bright idea it was, but it sure did ignore an audience that can't get out of a chair unless it rolls out of a chair like that. I understand we have space problems. Can't set those chairs up with the cups, all of that, and have enough room. I haven't been to a concert. I don't want to be run through a security system like TSA. So I don't go to the amphitheater. I don't pay the big bucks for the different groups that come. And I don't go to the free concerts. I get those in my condo if I want to sit out on my porch and listen. And by the way, whoever said, don't let anybody run your sound system who isn't a pro is absolutely right. Because when I was a rabbi in Morrison, anybody who got a hold of our sound system and our little synagogue created problems for us that were interminable. So good catch. I'm still not on your email list. Haven't gotten it. I got the fact of this meeting out of the newspaper. Last week I showed up to do this very same thing. Have we got a lawyer yet? Because I understand everything stops with Dylan's projects. If we don't have one by the 11th of July, I'm not sure where that sits. I hiked today, and this is for whoever was on the council who got this approved. I hiked today at the Lower Straight Creek Trail. Good for Dylan. Because if you go through that trail, you will see maybe 200 teepee-like collections of pine trees that if that beetle kill forest had caught fire, this town would have been very much affected. So good on whoever proposed that. They're going to burn those different piles. I've got a picture. I'd like to put it in the Summit Daily News, but it's not a pretty flower, so I'm not sure they'll publish it. I think that's probably as much as I wanted to say, except that I would hope that come to the farmer's market, talk to your residents, come to different places where people hang out. Bruce Butler's got some real good criticisms about the condominiums that were built back in the 70s, but hey, what are we going to do about those? And he's got some pretty good reflections on the whole problem of the center part of Dillon. I don't know how many plans we paid for to revamp the downtown. Just one?
One second.
Oh, 1 second. Well, I came here in 2007 and I'll bet you it's more than one plan that we paid for, but until we get our hands on those properties down there.
Rabbi Joel, rabbi@holyman1.com.
You got it.
Can we get that onto the mailing list? Just put it on there. Nobody else signed up. Is anybody else here to make a public comment tonight? Going once. Are you guys here to make a public comment tonight? No. Back? No. Right. Okay, item 5, consideration of resolution number 3424, series of 2024, a resolution approving a temporary construction easement agreement between the town of Dillon and Dillon Medical Properties LLC. Dan.
I got the little blue thing over here, so is the HDMI button? Okay. Oh, maybe I have to hit that. Well, anyway, oh, there we go. Took a little while for it to find it. This is just a quick overview. This is a drawing I worked on back in February and been coordinating with the property owner of the Dillon Health property. Dillon or Remedy Medical is the property owner these days. The yellow is kind of the approximate location of the path. And you can see how we're affecting the site. Let me call up my, oh, there it is. A little pointer here. This, one of the main things that we discovered, as we went through all this is that when Vail Health owned the property, this is the snow storage easement they had granted to Lookout Ridge Townhomes for all their snow storage coming from here. So we kind of had to work around with that with the path. When the path was originally conceived, it just kind of went through there. But in the meantime, this is the second version of that snow storage easement they had granted, which kind of dictated a lot of the design. But the bottom line is you can see how much will be going through their property. So between the snow storage easement and kind of this existing path and this retaining wall here, that's between Dillon Ridge, or it turns into Lookout Ridge Road, and this sidewalk here, and the retaining wall here for, I forget what's in there, but they needed it. But the yellow is kind of the path, and we tie it in back up in this area once we get to our public right of way. We originally thought maybe we could tie the path into their private drive, but we just don't have the right to do that. And there's a lot of liability and stuff for them if they took that on. So we ended up centering the path between this retaining wall here and the existing curb and gutter, and we rip out the existing sidewalk there. But anyway, the temporary construction easement takes in account work on this land, cutting in here. The little red lines are contours showing kind of the we have to build outside the path footprint quite a bit in order to actually physically build this little embankment to put the path through there. And we also need to tie the electrical for the bollard lights back into this building here. So that's what that is all about. That drawing kind of looks like that. That's what the temporary construction easement looks like on their property. So it's pretty simple. I kind of worked through that. Nick had done that before he left a couple months ago, and we've been working on this for many months, if not years. But this is kind of the final configuration of what we agreed to. And you can see that with that snow storage easements in there, where our limits of work is going right up to the snow storage easement just to give us enough room to work and get everything done. So there isn't too much more to say about that. But the next easement's the permanent easement for the sidewalk, the next resolution. But staff recommends approving resolution 34-24.
Any questions for Dan? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 3424, series of 2024. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Tyne,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Luck, Moore,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes. Item 6, consideration of resolution number 3524, series of 2024, a resolution approving a permanent easement and maintenance agreement between the town of Dillon and Dillon Medical Properties LLC. Dan?
Yep, same thing. This is the permanent easement. So we're building a 10-foot sidewalk now. Originally, we were thinking about 6 foot, and they let us expand our easement to be 20 feet. So that gives us 5 feet on each edge of the sidewalk for snow storage. And also the bollard lights will set back about 2.5 feet from the edge of the sidewalk. But it's pretty simple. It's just, that's what we need to do to own and operate the sidewalk through their property. And we're on the hook to repair it forever. And we also have to provide, an insurance certificate every year. Yes.
Is it going to be concrete or asphalt?
Last fall, the direction was concrete. So that's what we're doing. So not much, there's no budget impact for the actual easement. So town staff recommends approval of resolution 35-24.
I would entertain a motion to, any questions for Dan?
Yeah. Is there any chance of the light fixtures not shining towards Lookout Ridge?
Well, some of them will shine to the path. We can put them, we could certainly kind of move them to the other side. I think the issue with that was more because the other direction I got last October was to design a path for bikes and putting them on the outside on this curve up here. I'm really concerned that we would, when the bike wipes out, it would hit that solid object. So on this curve, I put them on this side. We can still kind of debate that if you want. On this curve, they're on this side facing away there. One of the big advantages to this particular plan is that there's a big street light here. We're going to remove that street light now and replace it with some small bollard lights, 4 of them. So it'll be a lot less impactful from a lighting standpoint than it is now, just because we're going from a massive street light that's 20-some feet up in the air to 4 bollard lights. So, but yeah, I mean, if that's a request, you just need to realize you're taking on some liability for putting it on the outside of the path, and I don't have an easement wide enough to put it far enough away from the path, I think, to prevent someone from getting hurt if they fall into that bollard going too fast around that corner. So my recommendation would be put it on that side. And again, since we're getting rid of the street light, it's going to be a lot less light in there, lower. But, it's something, if your direction is, the council's direction is to look at that, we can certainly look at that.
Are they the kind of lights that are always on or the ones that like magic turn on when you come near?
Well, they'll always have, I think we've asked to do the dimmers that we did down at the amphitheater. So they're the same bollard lights that you see in the park and down at the amphitheater, but we've asked to put the dimmer setting in them. So they'll just kind of get lighter as people approach, and then they'll dim back down. So,
Great.
but we can certainly go run that by Lookout Ridge if you'd like. I think the advantage is getting rid of the street light there.
Any questions for Dan regarding the permanent easement? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 3524 series of 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Luck,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Cancer.
Yes. Next item is consideration of resolution number 3624, series of 2024, a resolution approving a second amendment to a development agreement between the town of Dillon and Dillon Medical Properties LLC.
Yeah, so this, I don't have a slide for that one. So this development agreement changes, we're just to memorialize some of the changes that were made during construction. So they built this and finished it, I think in 2020, right around the pandemic. I remember we had to wear a mask when we were going for our final inspections. Some of the things, one of the main things that their attorney had redlined throughout, and again, Nick had prepared this about, actually, he prepared this document probably a year and a half ago. It's gone through a bunch of changes with their legal staff. Because of the pandemic, the project manager kind of dropped the ball on that, and we didn't get back into it for a year. But it wasn't urgent. But we kind of worked through it again with a new attorney and their new project manager. And the main thing that's going on is that there's a lot of things that their attorney wanted to identify as completed in this particular document. The main changes to the original development agreement that you guys approved was there was originally a requirement to put another crosswalk at the intersection of the Dillon Dam Road and Highway 6. And CDOT said, no, unless we proved we had to have it. And so we just got rid of that. We had a discussion with that like 5 years ago with the town council. And so that eliminated the leg that went along the southern end of North Dillon Dam Road and on the east side of that intersection. So that's why they're not there. So this document removes that from that development agreement. So it's not an obligation for them anymore. The big thing for us with regards to the path is that originally to get these bollard lights, originally they were going to put in a separate meter for us. Then we would own the bollard lights plus the street lights along Dillon Ridge Road along the north side of the property. And they didn't do that during construction. And I think it was just too cumbersome and not what Excel wanted either. So at the end, very end of the property, they ended up tying the street lights and told us that we can tie our electrical service for the bollard lights into their little outbuilding at the that's their oxygen building. And so we're kind of working through that. I think we're going to meet on Thursday and hopefully that finally have that resolved. But that was just a big change. And they've also agreed to take over the electrical bills forever. So that's a pretty big change. And that's a budget impact to us. We don't have to pay the electric bills for the 8 bollard lights through their property. So that's a good thing. And then the only other thing is that they just put a bunch of things in there that everything had been completed. So it's a pretty simple amendment. They insisted on a copy of the First Amendment in that document. So we've done that. Are there any questions about that?
Questions for Dan? Anything else? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 3624, series of 2024. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Luck,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Cancer.
Yes. Up next, item 8, consideration of resolution number 3724, series of 2024, resolution approving a contract with Doris Quintana Construction, Inc. for the 2024 Highway 6 traffic control project. Dan.
So this is the contract with DQ. I'm happy to report that as of now, it's a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. So far, we're thinking that CDOT's going to let us just do the storm sewer work on the edge of the road without putting up concrete barriers. They've been doing that at Highway 6 and Keystone for a new gas line over there. So the hole we're digging is only about 4 feet deep anyway. So that makes it much cheaper because all we have to do is put barrels out every day and close the one lane. If you could share my screen again. And so this is the basic concept for traffic control. And one of the things we have to do, we have to reduce the lane to one lane to westbound during the work hours. So that'll just be from Monday through Friday. And the hours will be basically whatever CDOT's permit, special use permit says. And so typically that means from 7 to about 4 or 5. And we'll try to ask for a longer time just so we can get the project done sooner. It also, to the right of here, I didn't really show it, but we close all the lanes down to just one. And then when people get back here, they can kind of meander back to Evergreen. But that just reduces all the traffic in one lane here. We're proposing, and CDOT hasn't approved this yet, just kind of a small little turnout lane. It's not an acceleration lane, but since we're also closing the outside right turn lane out of Evergreen, it'll just be one lane of traffic coming out of here. And then this is just so if someone kind of gets going here and they misjudge the traffic, it's kind of a refuge so they don't, get hit, and then they can merge into traffic when it's safe. But pretty much every day, this is what it's going to look like for a couple months. So anyway, so this contract with DQ Construction is in the amount of $102,300. Town staff recommends approving it. And we're also, one quick thing is, in order to make sure we had enough money in the street fund account, we're going to pay for the traffic control out of Dura at this time. Yes.
So on Lake Dillon Drive, are you gonna cut off that left lane, left turn? Because there's 2 lanes turning left right now.
Right. So there'll only be one.
of them turning-
Yeah. And that's just because there's only one lane to receive the traffic.
Yeah.
Right? So,
That's always a problematic.
yeah.
intersection.
But yeah, so it's gonna, you'll probably notice some different kind of delays, or it might seem longer because, traffic's gonna stack in one long linear line instead of 2 segments. So it's gonna be different during construction. The Evergreen roadside's the same, but usually you only get 3 cars stacked in there between the church entrance and there. So it's not that different, even though, kind of freak people out. So, but luckily, and the other thing I did with the traffic control here is I didn't really put a lot of money into flagging. I don't think we're going to need a lot of flagging. It can pretty much just be done with cones, traffic barrels. Things. So.
Just Monday through Friday.
Yeah, because typically their permits don't let us work on Saturday and Sunday. And usually on Fridays, we have to be done in the afternoon, a couple hours before 5. So.
Any other questions for Dan? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 3724, series of 20. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Hendricks,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Memora.
Yeah.
Pine. Yes. Christensen,
Yes.
Luck.
Yeah.
Escobar.
Yes. Up next, item 9, consideration of resolution number 3824, series of 2024, resolution approving a contract with Colomine Hills Construction LLC for the 2024 Highway 6 sideway project. Dan.
Okay. Yeah. So back in October, we kind of revisited this and we kind of rescoped it quite a bit. We changed it from a 6-foot to a 10-foot sidewalk. And we also wanted to make sure that it was bike path compatible. One of the design issues I had with this was the road is 6%. So that means the sidewalk's 6. And in this section here, I had to drop the path about just under 7% to get it to go. And then there's a vertical curve here that comes back up. And then this part of the path over here is 7%. This road for Lookout Ridge Road here is actually 7% too. And then it comes back out here and then ties into the cul-de-sac here. And that's how we get people into the public right away with this particular project. There's a little path connection here that ties back into their existing gravel path. So they'll be able to do that. This is an inlet. There's a hole there if you ever walked over there. And this this is our storm sewer. I'll go through that really quickly at the end. And then we'll have this big riprap outfall for all this water that comes out of here. It's not a particularly huge storm drainage area. So the amount of water that's coming through here isn't like extraordinary. It's about 20 to 25 CFS in the 100-year storm, the 1% recurrence interval. So it's really, it's designed to accommodate that 100-year storm. Usually we only design storm sewers for 5 or 10 years. So it just so happened that the 18-inch pipe could handle that. So that's a plus. As we walk through the design, I'll kind of step through it kind of quickly. This is one of the problems I had, working with the design. This is that snow storage easement we talked about that Lookout Ridge has. And they definitely are way outside their easement because their easement's way up here, but they've been pushing all that snow over the hill. And one of the other things is our water main goes right through here. So originally when I was working with a smaller sidewalk where I had shorter radiuses where I could really kind of meander it quicker because we weren't dealing with bikes, I thought we could put it on this side and then put up a fence up here. But because we wanted to put in, make sure bikes can get around that, we ended up moving it to the other side of the little valley there. And then kind of just avoids this issue. I think I've talked to Remedy Medical and they're okay if I end up putting like a little fence in this corner here to kind of prevent that snow from going onto our path, just because it's a year-round path. Again, I'll try to go through this somewhat quick. As we go to the next, one of the big things that we identified during the design process, and Columbine had this problem early in the year in Silverthorne, is that Xcel Energy has new gas line regulations for their high pressure mains. And this high pressure main, try to draw it in here, it's pretty much going right through there. And what that means is we're not really, yellow's the color of gas in the utility world. The issue is that we're not allowed to compact within 10 feet on either side or above. We use some vibratory compaction, the machines that smoosh it all together. So we have to use static compaction and flow fill. And so that was one of the big cost increases. We're going to spend upwards, $433,000 on flow fill, about 2,000 yards, which is about 200 trucks of flow fill, which is quite a bit. But that was the easiest solution that we kind of came up with, and it's really more mandated by CDOT. This is kind of a typical section. Oops, sorry. That shows that we're kind of flow filling everything above 5 feet when we get into that maintenance section on top of the gas line. And again, what they're worried about is they didn't bed this pipe historically. So usually when we do a pipe, we put bedding in it. So a big crushed rock that's all the same side and it locks together and supports the pipe. This, they just use native fill. So there's boulders and things because we have all these test holes sitting right up against the pipe. And what they're worried about is with the vibratory compaction is that big donut, that's what we call big rocks, sitting next to the pipe, and the vibratory compaction pushes it into the pipe and causes it to break. And then there's the potential for an explosion and other bad things. So this is pretty much new this year. We worked around the high pressure gas line for 20 years, and most recently down by the Dillon Dam Brewery when they put the urgent care in, and all those pipes and everything were like 4 feet off this line. So they didn't say anything. So, but anyway, they've rethought things, and this is what they need to do to protect their infrastructure. So anyway, let's see. So this is back to the kind of the path design. And then this is another section when we, right where the embankment is. And that gas line kind of moves around as we go around the corner. This particular drawing just kind of shows an overview of once we leave that little valley and we get up into the area where we needed the wall. This is where we needed the wall. I have some pictures here. I tried to meander this as much as I could. That was a request from the mayor. But so we got a nice little meander here, and then it's kind of straight here. The wall is 7 feet off the edge of the path, and then when I could, I would push the path over in the hill and bring it back. So there is a little meandering in there. You can kind of see. It won't look straight, but it doesn't meander a lot. Those are huge radiuses. So, but I tried. So. And then this is one of the pictures of the place where we're putting the retaining wall. And you can see, just barely, that we actually staked this out and we did all that survey or geotechnical work last fall, but that wall is going to end up way back here. So just to kind of give you a feel for that. And you can just see how, this is eroded poorly. The gas line is like right here, kind of hanging on the edge of that cliff. And then there's a ditch that's anywhere from 1 to 2 feet. And then there's a little tiny shoulder and that comes and goes as far as the width of that. But that's kind of what we've been designing around. And another reason for, putting it 7 feet behind the sidewalk was just to make sure there's enough fall room from a bicycle design standpoint. So if someone falls off their bike, they don't hit the wall. And so that pushed the wall farther back into the hillside too. This is the wall plan and profile. We were able to reduce it by about 1/3 from what I originally thought we were going to do. So that, took $100,000 out of the wall cost. So pretty good with that. And we decided early on, just because of the logistics of this, to kind of work with Columbine Hills on developing a project cost for us. Because I didn't honestly know how to build this because it's just this long skinny thing on the highway and they have a lot of highway experience and they have that gas. They brought to our attention this problem with the high pressure gas main. So it's been a good partnership. And they went out and found a new block system that was much cheaper than the other block system I had proposed. So it's really been helpful to have them on board throughout the final design of this particular project. Again, this is that kind of same thing. Just a different angle. You can kind of see that valley and kind of where we're up to, and you can see that survey stake up there here, where that wall is actually kind of going to get built into the hillside. The next slide just shows the kind of the cross section of what that wall looks like. And what we have to do to build this wall, you can see we have 7 feet from the back of the walk over to the wall. And in this area, there's only about 4 or 5 feet between this new curb and gutter drainage section, which is about it's 5.5 foot wide pan. And that's to kind of replace the ditch that we're removing, to make sure that CDOT has good drainage during the winter. And then we only have about between 5 and 13 feet, depending on where I meandered the path and pushed it in the hillside. And then we have the 10-foot path, then we have the 7 foot here. The other reason for the 7 foot was, when we dig this hole to put the bottom of the retaining wall in, we always have to be 10 feet off this gas line with our equipment this way. So that gives us 3 feet in front of the wall to do vibratory compaction to really kind of push, get the compaction in front of the wall, which is what you want so it doesn't slide. And then we put this in here, and then we do a 1-to-1 slope, cut slope, and this ends up within about 2 to 3 feet of the right-of-way line. And then we come back at a 2-to-1, and that sets the wall height. 2-to-1 is kind of our standard for safe design in the mountains. Most everything in the town is like at a 2-to-1 slope. So, any questions about the wall? Okay. And then this is looking the other way. So going up towards Evergreen and Lake Dillon Drive. So as you can see, once we get past that pinch point where the wall gets, it kind of widens out a little bit, but not really. What we're doing with the design is we basically are just going to saw cut off 3 inches of the existing asphalt. And then we're going to start that new concrete curb and gutter section that has that 5.5 foot pan. And then we build that. And then another place where we had to put flow fill is anything within 5 feet of the edge of the highway travel or the asphalt, we have to flow fill all that. So that's what we're doing. I can show you. This is my kind of typical section. Oops, went back. So this is, usually we would recompact this. We put bedding material, but here we're just putting bedding material on the bottom, and this is all flow fill. Okay, something wrong with my connection. But this is all flow fill too. So that was another cost, and I broke that out and put it all under the flow fill cost. So that was $112,000 for this flow fill. And then you can see on top of the gas line, here's the gas line again. We're just going to flow fill a bench in there to create this bench for the path, so we don't have to do compaction. So on some level, that'll probably help speed things up, because now instead of kind of having to import material, this was the real problem we were having, is in how to bring a bunch of all 200 trucks of material in and then spread it out and stockpile it somewhere. The concrete flow fill actually will hopefully speed up construction, because now we just kind of dig a hole and support the edges, and then we can just fill that up, and then right away, the next day we can come in and form up the sidewalk and get that constructed. So, so that worked out pretty good. Again, here's the path again. And then this is just another cross section. Same thing we're talking about, but you can see that the pinch point between the sidewalk and the back occurs about 5 feet. What that does is it puts the edge of the bike path or the sidewalk about 12 feet from the edge of the travel lane on the highway. So that's really the best I could do, but I think that'll feel okay to most people because,
Right
You-
now, they're on the highway.
yeah, no,
so
people
the
are walking in the
movement
high,
from
yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be it's going to be a nice improvement. If you don't like it, you can get on the other side of the path and be 22 feet away, right? So, this is the storm sewer design. So starting at the bottom in that little valley, we just kind of come up, and we kind of step up. We have to cross the gas line once, and then we get over into underneath that new 5.5 foot curb and gutter section we're building along the highway all the way up to Evergreen. Same thing. We put an inlet every 100 feet, which you wouldn't design that, if you design it for rainfall, but because of the winter and they've used this for snow storage historically, we wanted to make sure they had enough drainage so that we don't end up with icing issues. And so far they're pretty happy with that. And that's a ditch, it can kind of handle unlimited amount of snow and stuff. And we'll have the 5 feet plus the 5 foot barrier. So we'll have about 11 feet in the minimum section for snow storage. And then when we widen the path out that extra 7 or 8 feet, then we'll have about 15. So I think it was a pretty good compromise and we were able to get the path in, also accommodate CDOT snow storage. This is the path as we get up to the intersection. This drawing just showed you that there's just so many little utilities we had to go around. So we had to step the pipe up. And then this is what that intersection looked like. What you might not realize is that here, this is the intersection of Evergreen, Lake Dillon Drive. There's actually 2 culverts that come in here. One comes across Evergreen Road and the other one comes over to the southeast corner of Lake Dillon Drive and Highway 6. And so it's a 24-inch culvert, 18 inch, but it's all buried and covered in muck. So we're going to end up put a manhole here, and then we're gonna move this curb line out to make the ADA access ramp on that corner work better. We had, it's about 28 feet of asphalt. We're going to reduce that to about 220 feet. And that's, with the curb and gutter, we still get the 2 12-foot lanes. But that was Grant's idea at CDOT. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. And then that pulls the sidewalk away from this pole a little bit. One of the expenses in this project is, the pedestrian buttons. We have to put those little poles with pedestrian buttons on them, like you see at most of the intersections when they redid it about 5 or 6 years ago. So we'll put one in each direction over here right by the sidewalk. So someone in a wheelchair can get to it. And then the next thing, this is just a blow up of that. One of the biggest problems with the design was there's the gas lines here, and then we have the signal pole. We try to center the pipe between the two, just so that we don't undermine the signal pole, so it doesn't tip over and we don't get into the gas main. So at the end of the day, setting this new inlet out here and separating these 2 pipes by cutting them back worked out pretty good. So that's all there is to say about drainage, and I think that's it. So cost wise, so we got the bid back from Columbine. Their project cost is 1.884 million. I broke out on the bid schedule the different kind of categories. So earthwork removal is about 200,000, flow fields 430. The proposed improvements, the concrete sidewalk, the curb and gutter along the highway and everything are about 400,000, and the storm sewer cost is about $320,000 to put all that in. The traffic signal improvements, that was really expensive. It's like 24,000 just to put in those 2 little pedestals. But part of the problem there is such a small project. The one big company does traffic signals said, no, it's not for us. And they got a bid from another guy. So we're working with some other companies to try to get a cheaper price. So we'll keep working on those kind of things. So anyway, the way we ended up funding this is earlier this year when I started doing the final design, I knew we were going to not have enough money. And so we ended up canceling 4 projects, the 3 Rivers storm sewer, the overlay for this year, and then the West Buffalo drainage project. 3 projects, sorry. And then that freed up the budget so that we had 2.1, let's see, $2.165 million in the street sales tax. So with this project and this contract, and I listed some of the other, the money that we spent out of the street fund to build the storm sewer bypass and everything. We should have about $135,000 left to pay for surveying, geotechnical testing, change orders and things like that. And I think this project is pretty well vetted. I mean, if we really ran into some unknown condition, then we would propose doing that change order out of either additional fund balances, which we don't know about today in the street sales tax. There is some money, just don't know what that split is. And, or we would fund the rest of that out of Dura. So town staff recommends awarding the contract in the amount of $1,884,629.25.
Questions for Dan? Comments?
Do we have a completion date?
Well, we won't start till after Labor Day to get through. And the other thing is, once this contract gets approved, we need about 48 weeks to order all the precast concrete inlets and the manholes and the retaining wall block. So hopefully by the end of the week, we'll be under contract and get all that ordered. So we plan to start right after Labor Day, probably heavy construction the week after Labor Day week. And then it'll probably take us a good 10 to 12 weeks. So hopefully by the first part of November.
We do a ribbon cutting?
We absolutely could. We have ribbons. We can.
Well, I think this is very exciting. This is, I feel like we haven't had a good sidewalk project in a couple years. So this is an exciting thing to add to the community. And I think we'll address a lot of the concerns we hear about people walking up to the Evergreen and Lake Dillon Drive intersection and not being able to get safely around town. Doesn't help them get over to this side of the street any better, but we're working on that too.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see this happen. I think the community will be very excited. And Ryan, I think you should be typing away furiously right now about this exciting new sidewalk going in that's going to add to the walkability in Dillon, in and around Dillon into neighboring communities.
Yeah, I mean, the intersection improvements, around the signal pole, that'll get sacrificed, but for the most part, most of it's going to stay the same. I think when you put the roundabout in, we narrow the road, right, when it comes out of the right of way, when it goes down the hill. So at some point, then that widens back up in the configuration of the Dillon Dam Road. But pretty much our sidewalk, the drainage and the distance from the travel lane will probably get a lot wider by like 10 or 15 feet. Put the roundabout in on that.
Chipping away. Any other questions or comments for Dan? Thanks for all your work on this.
Yeah, we got it.
Thanks for all those meandering turns. I can't wait to walk on it.
It's gonna be nice.
I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 3824, series of 2024.
Move. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Tyne,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Luck,
Yes.
Maskowara.
Yes. Up next, item 10, consideration of resolution number 3924, series of 2024. Thank you, Dan. A resolution by the Town Council of the Town of Dillon, Colorado, approving a right-of-way encroachment license agreement for the Yacht Club condominiums. Fourth filing. Ned? Is this you? Sorry, Scott?
It is me, but there are some representatives from the HOA who will first speak about it. Okay, you're just here to answer questions. That's fine. That works. As you all may well know, Yacht Club condominiums, it's called Summit Yacht Club, is on East Levante. And they currently have a trash enclosure sited in the right of way. It is in poor condition and they've had trouble with misuse and abuse of that enclosure. So they are actually the first group that is planning to follow our newest ordinance for waste and recycling enclosures and are going to fully enclose it with a roof, doors, and but first they need this encroachment license. One never existed, though that existing trash enclosure is there. So this resolution is intended to clean that up and enable them to apply for a permit to build a new enclosure, essentially in the same location. They are proposing to angle it so it's easier to access with a garbage truck. There's a picture of the existing one.
Put a great big no couches sign in front.
I think that's the intent. They have had problems with. Yep. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, but staff does recommend approval of resolution number 39-24 series of 2024.
Questions for Ned? Or any of the folks from Yacht Club? Condominiums? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 3924, series of 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Tyne,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Luck, Maschera.
Yes. Thank you guys for buying in and being a part of the solution we're trying to work toward. Up next, item 11, consideration of resolution number 4024, series of 2024, a resolution approving a consulting agreement with Allen Plummer and Associates, Inc. for disinfection log inactivation, CT improvements, construction phase services. Scott.
So regretfully, I let the engineers name the project. As you guys are aware, we've been talking about this, I think, for a couple of years now, but this is the redesign of the old 400,000 gallon tank that we have up there by the water plant. So we have right next to that, we have the new 1.5 million gallon tank. And we have some new members, of course, on council, but this some time ago, when we put in the new 1.5 million gallon tank, the CDPHE, who is our regulatory authority for water, at that time was looking at contact basins throughout the state. So when you treat water, you filter it, and then you send it to a basin, a pool, where we add fluoride, but also our disinfectant, which is chlorine. And the CDPHE determined that most of the water plants built roughly in the 80s, that their contact basins, sometimes referred to as a polishing basin, they weren't big enough. And so they no longer gave us credit for that basin. And they said, now your big storage tank is now your contact basin, which is problematic for us, because then that means it's something that we can never take offline, which doesn't work well when you have a storage tank that you need to do work on and inspections and whatnot. So for about a year and a half, of course, we've been working on a design with Plummer Engineering to retrofit the old 400,000 into a contact basin and redo some of the yard piping. So now the water will come from our filters and our water plant, come outside the building, go into the 400,000 gallon tank, and that will meet CDPHE evaluated this, and it will meet our required contact time. So whenever you add a disinfectant, you need to have, there's a certain amount of contact time that you have to have for the disinfectant to mix and do the job. So we'll go into that contact basin, and then from the contact basin, then we'll go into the 1.5 million gallon tank. But we also have the ability to not go to any of the tanks, and we can actually filter and send water directly to town, to the distribution system, as long as it goes through that contact basin. So this resolution is to hire Plummer to work for us as our engineering consultant for the construction phase of the project. So we're out to bid. We hope to be reviewing bids in August, and then have a contract resolution for you guys sometime towards the end of August for the project. We anticipate there's going to be a fall phase to the project, and then there's going to be a spring phase to the project. So we anticipate they're going to do a lot of the tank work this fall, and then in the spring, they'll do the final yard piping, and then we'll be done with the project. So staff recommends approval of resolution 40-24 series of 2024. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments for Scott?
I've got one a little bit off topic. You mentioned we're still adding fluoride.
We are. Yep.
So that was started, what, 30, 40 years ago? They thought it was going to strengthen people's teeth or something like that.
Correct.
Then I guess recently they found it really doesn't do that, but it has potential deleterious effects on your neurological system. Is anybody looking at, do we still need to add fluoride to the water?
So I think the reasons for adding fluoride, and this is, let me start by saying the decision to add fluoride or not add fluoride can only be done by the elected officials. That's the way the law is set up in the state of Colorado. If you want to have a discussion about adding fluoride, I'd recommend that we invite the state to come up and kind of talk about the fluoridation program and also maybe some local dentists, but maybe also talk to some other people who are worried about, maybe some of the possible harmful effects of fluoride.
I think the
So-
word is kind of shifted.
So there is debate, though. So my personal response to you on this is that I think the reasons for adding fluoride a long time ago, I think were necessary. And I think that today, certainly you have a lot more access to dentists. You have a greater access to toothpaste and fluoride products and so on and so forth than you did back in the 1920s or, when fluoridation, first began in this country, which was right around at the turn of the century. The other thing I think is that people, certainly we don't need to add is we have some naturally occurring fluoride that's in our water. People now drink a lot more water than they did back in the day. And so people, I think, in terms of consumption of fluoride, people are drinking more water. So they've actually reduced fluoride dosing throughout the state in Colorado. So really, I think there's arguments on both sides. It's your decision. If you would like for me to talk to Nathan and we could schedule some experts to come and kind of discuss the pros and cons with you, I'd be happy to do that.
Is that something council's interested in?
And the dentists love it. Fluoride
And the
is 3
pediatricians
times
love it. If your kids are not in Dillon, they make you take fluoride.
How much has the dose been reduced in the past?
I think we were feeding, I believe, close to 2 milligrams per liter. I want to say that we're down below 1 now. It was the recommended dose, I think, was about 2, and then it went down to 1.5. And I want to say we're right about 1 milligram per liter right now. So that's the same as 1 part per billion. If the state came and talked to you, obviously they'd be campaigning to continue the fluoridation program, and they'd talk to you the reasons why you need to do that. I think a lot of the dentists may have kind of the same view on fluoridation. Certainly there's other people who have concerns about the toxicity, and at certain levels fluoride is toxic. So
I think we'll keep it in mind, and I don't think there's will on the council to have that
Okay.
conversation at this time.
okay. Sounds
Any other questions regarding resolution 4024? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 4024, series of 2024.
Move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Pine,
Yes.
Luck,
Yeah.
Maskowara.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you.
Up next, item 12, consideration of resolution number 4124, series of 2024, resolution approving an updated personnel policy for town of Dillon officers and employees.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This has been a long project in the making. Melinda and Kathleen have worked on this tirelessly. But then also our employment attorneys have worked on this as well. And in front of you tonight for your consideration is the updated personnel policy for town of Dillon for its employees. This is to be in compliance with state and federal law. If you have any questions, Melinda's on the line. I'm also available as well.
Questions for Nathan or Melinda? Has staff vetted these changes?
We have, yes. Very carefully. I'm just happy that Melinda was able to finish this.
Right. Questions or comments? I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 4124, series of 2024.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Just say thanks for keeping this up to date then. Legal. Roll call.
Councilmember Woods,
Yes.
Tyne,
Yes.
Luck,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Maskowara.
Yes. Next item is consideration of resolution number 4224, series of 2024, resolution approving a professional legal services agreement with Wilson Williams Fellman Dittman.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. In front of you tonight is a legal services agreement with Wilson Williams Fellman Dittman. This is specifically pertaining to the special election on October 1st with the PUD, the level 4 PUD application. Staff is recommending approval of the services agreement.
Questions or comments for Nathan? I would entertain a motion to, is there a motion to approve resolution number 4224, series of 2024?
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Luck,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Memora,
Yes.
Tyne,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Esquire.
Yes. Thanks for doing the work on that, Nathan. Up next, consideration of resolution number 4324, series of 2024, resolution approving an engagement letter with Hoffman, Parker, Wilson, and Carberry PC.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. This engagement letter is specifically tied to the Uptown 240 development agreement, along with the workforce housing components pertaining to deed restrictions and the potential of the inclusionary code requirement. Staff is recommending approval of the engagement letter.
Questions or comments for Nathan? Do you think it's the same Wilson?
It is not the same Wilson. I talked to the previous Wilson earlier, different firm.
I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 4324, series of 2024. Is
So moved.
there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Tyne,
Yes.
Woods,
Yes.
Luck,
Yeah.
Memora,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Hendricks,
Yes.
Esquire.
Yes. Next, we have review of the future council agendas. Anybody have anything else that hasn't been brought up so far? Next, we have the town manager's update, Nathan.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Real quick, our sales tax revenues for the month of May are down approximately $12,000. Year to date, we are down approximately $179,000 or 4.38%. So we're keeping an eye on that. And, you know, we just crossed the 6-month timeline in terms of budget. So we're really keeping a close eye on revenues and expenditures. The last update that I have, the town attorney RFP, we did receive a proposal while we were in work session today. So we do have one firm that's interested in being your town attorney. The deadline for those proposals is next Tuesday, the 16th at 1 p.m. So hopefully at our next meeting, we can review at least one proposal. Hopefully there will be others. And we'll go from there.
Questions or comments for Nathan? Up next is the mayor's update. We have, let's see. Before this meeting, I was over at the Historic Society and they are looking into how they can get the schoolhouse and other moved buildings registered on the either national or statewide register so that they can qualify for different grant funding for, I think ideally their project they've been talking about on their space there. So more to come on that. We have mayor's managers tomorrow. Thursday. Right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's Thursday. And if you guys have anything you'd like me to bring up to that group, happy to do that. Send me an email or a text or let me know right now. And I'll be jumping on a call with you after that for Northwest COG. It's my big Thursday once a month. Any questions or comments for me? Up next is council member comments. Anybody have anything? Final item tonight is adjournment. Those in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. It's 8:03 and this meeting's adjourned.